Welcome to Awakened Titans podcast with Lily Patrascu, mind-blowing conversations with influential business titans sharing how you can manifest abundance, love, joy, success through quantum awakening, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, quantum miracles, exponential business growth, and innovative products and services. Discover how to build profitable offers with stories in today's session with Peter Bray. He's the owner of Peter Bray Marketing, and he is a professional Shakespeare actor turned marketing consultant specializing in story-driven marketing. Many business owners live in fear of losing clients because they don't know how to get themselves out there at scale. And Peter specializes in getting entrepreneurs introduced as an expert to new audiences every month. So they never feel worried about where they're going to find new clients again. And the first question is, what is the secret to your success?
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to share. My secret to my success is really finding out that all the very complicated storytelling structures that there's all sorts of books and marketing blueprints around are wonderful, but they're not actually necessary for most businesses to get direct impact to their bottom line, new customers, new revenue. It's actually very simple. You just need a very powerful, compelling story that speaks to a transformation that other people want to get, an overwhelming desire to solve a problem or an overwhelming desire to get an outcome. And that's really simple. That's the secret.
Thank you. And how did you become an awakened titan? And how did that help you to build profitable offers for yourself and other entrepreneurs?
Well, I think it all started when I was a very penniless actor. It's several years into my career, and I was living in my brother's living room and decided to start a new business. So I went down a rabbit hole. I did a lot of research, and I joined the dots between the story experience that I had from my career as a professional storyteller and how to create really compelling offers. And so I put together a few very valuable, compelling free resources that I could offer to an audience, which I didn't have at the time. And then I got in touch with a few people who did have a big audience full of my dream customers and said, hey, do you think your audience would appreciate you showing what I'm offering? And that I made sure it was such a no-brainer that those people said, yeah, this is great, absolutely. And they introduced me to their audience as an expert who could give them these wonderful three things. And then I very simply told the story of what the transformation was that I was offering. And in 48 hours, I built a profitable email list, which I then nurtured by telling more stories, offering new bits of value, helping to solve problems, listening very, very carefully to what problems they needed help with in my audience, and then making offers. And it's an email list that I sold offers to for years to come after.
Thank you. And how can entrepreneurs build their own profitable offers with stories?
Well, it starts by having something overwhelmingly compelling right now. So a lot of businesses help with all sorts of wonderful things. The problem that I come across with 80% of the clients who I help to figure this out is that they aren't using the language and the world and the lived experience that their prospects are thinking about their problems and the desires about right now. So usually what's happening is that because you as the business owner are an expert in what you do, you are thinking from a way too educated place about what you do and how you help. And so what you can do and what I help coach clients through is actually sitting down, finding your dream customers, and then extracting from them, really listening to what language they use to describe their world. How is the problem manifesting to them right now? What are they Googling in incognito mode to be like, how do I solve this? What do I need to solve? And then you need to draw a link between what you are currently offering and how you offer it, and which of those problems, those overwhelming problems and overwhelming desires that your your solution can actually help them to solve right now. And then you need to aim everything at that and make it as simple and clear as possible that that is the story that you're offering. You're taking them from where they are now, the thing that they want to solve, the thing that they want to achieve, and you're taking them on a transformation to having that outcome. And you use their language. That's the blueprint. If you can do that, then you can build a very profitable offer very, 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 very quickly.
Thank you. What separates profitable from unprofitable offers?
It's the decision to say, I'm the expert, so I'm going to talk to you from the place of expert. I'm going to talk you through technically. I know how it works, so I'm going to tell you how it works. That isn't what people buy. So what happens as a consequence is that to get attention to that offer is going to cost far more resources, time, money, energy. It's going to be much harder work. And then it's going to be much harder work to actually educate people from your language to join the dots with the language that they're using to think of their problem. That means that you're losing revenue at every point in the kind of conversion, and you're not going to have you're not going to have as much margin as if you focus on the clarity of the offer. Solving it doesn't mean you have to change what you're actually delivering, but it means that you have to change how you talk about the offer, the story you tell. When an ideal client sees your offer, they should think, "Oh my goodness, I get to buy that. You can give that to me," as opposed to them thinking, "Okay, so how does that translate into what I want right now?" Because at that point, they've already gone. They're not going to consume those calories in their brain to do the math to figure out your expert language into their lived experience of the problem right now. So the difference between that and having a profitable offer, which meets someone where they're at right now with what they want to solve right now, and then after you've got that attention, you can isolate that attention, and then you can educate them, being the expert. But the difference that makes that profitable is that it takes a lot less effort, it takes a lot less money, it takes a lot fewer resources to then get people saying, "Yes, I want to know more."
Thank you. Give us an example of a case study where you've worked with a company or an entrepreneur where you've made a massive difference to what they were doing before and what they are doing now in terms of languaging, messaging, and creating profitable offers that actually worked as opposed to not.
Yeah. Yes. So one very simple example is a company who actually, this is a B2B client who helped companies who had lots of telephone agents. So this might have been inbound or outbound call centers or customer help call centers. And they were so expert in what they did. They had us, going through lots of education, training us up in like all of the technicality of how their products work, why their products work. And it was all well and good until we said, well, hang on a second, look, this isn't what is going to move the needle. This isn't going to capture anyone's attention unless they happen to be an all-out nerd for, back-end telecommunication technology, which isn't what any of their dream customers were. So we translated it and we said, okay, so what are the outcomes that people really want? What are the things that really matter to them? And it was about not getting into trouble with Ofcom, and it was about having their callers able to do twice the amount of work, twice the amount of output, handle twice the amount of calls without it being stressful. And so that's what we talked about. We did a whole process to get it into a simple one-sentence story that they then used. And that then resulted they previously relied on referrals and networking, word of mouth. And what that one sentence was able to do was to help people who were a dream customer who was a complete stranger, who they had no introduction with whatsoever, saw that story and said, yeah, that's what we want. Tell us more. And then from that, they were able to nurture that into a proof of concept project that was worth just under £1 million, actually. So it was an extraordinary transformation for them.
Thank you. Take us through, for example, when people type in Google, I don't know, I want more sales, or I don't know, need more clients, or how to get more clients, or marketing services or something. How does that translate into what you would call a program in order to make it profitable?
So if someone has, so you're saying if someone has solves that problem, I can help you get more clients. How do they translate that into an offer? Well, I'd suggest an easy place to start to create a profitable, story-driven offer that captures attention very easily is to go pick your best client. Who have you helped? Who have you got the most dramatic transformation for? And send them a message saying, hey, a little catch up, and then say, I would love to sit down with you for 20 to 30 minutes and ask you a few questions. The reason is I'm trying to understand the language that my dream customers like you use to describe their problems, so I can understand them better and so I can serve them better to get the outcomes. And then you sit down with them, and there are a bunch of questions that you can ask, and you can dig deeper, and you can just listen. You ask if you can record that, and then the language for the offer comes from your best clients, because then what you're doing is you're finding out what resonates with them. Why, what were the real reasons underneath? And you need to dig to find this. You need to really understand people. You need to really listen carefully. And then you extract the before and the after, the pain and then the solution, and how the language that they use describes that. And then you understand what their biggest fears and obstacles are. And very quickly, you can then go and put together, this may be exactly what you already offer, but you can reposition what you offer to be actually describing that transformation that your best customers in the past have most wanted to achieve, and the triggers, what really got them moving, the reasons that it was time for them to solve this problem now rather than waiting another year. You put all of that into the language and the fundamental design of the offer. So you might find for someone who wants to help, for someone who helps someone to get clients, you might find that they have tried SEO, got absolutely nowhere. They sent some cold emails, got absolutely nowhere. They tried Facebook ads and just lost a ton of money. So that might be one of the first things that you talk about in how you introduce your offer. If you have, and then those problems, and then you dig up, what was the result of that? What did your world look like? And people might say, gosh, well, we were just deflated, to be honest. It was that we felt lost, we felt on our own. This is all the language that your job isn't to rewrite it. Your job isn't to have to do extra work and translate it into sounding businessy. Your job is to say, I hear you, and then to take that language and say, okay, let's see if this is what other people, you want to find the language that resonates with the hundreds of dream customers that are sitting quietly out there, as stressed as these dream customers that you've had in the past, where they're like, oh my goodness, finally, it's like someone sees inside my head. Have you got a camera in my house? You know what I was saying to my spouse at 3 a.m. when I couldn't sleep, and I was saying, I just need to solve this now. And if you actually build the offer around the obstacles that they tell you, it's like, yeah, well, I don't want to figure out paid ads because I'm scared of losing money. So there you have an obstacle. You have something that you can help solve in the fundamental design of your offer. So you say, we know that most people are terrified of paid advertising if they've been burned before. You don't want to pour more money down the drain and see just zeros in your conversions, in your new income columns. And so you make sure that you solve that problem, that you say, we start with this ad budget, and until we get over this threshold, you won't spend more money. What happen? You mitigate all of the risks that they're thinking of. That's a huge part of creating an offer, is listening in detail about what are people scared of, what are people worried about, what are the obstacles that are holding people back. And then it's not a trick. You reverse engineer everything to solve those problems, and then combine that with what you, the expert, know as well. So it's not like you forget that you're the expert and only design products around what people are scared about. But 99% of the time, the expert is just using their perspective. So what a profitable story-driven offer does is take the story from the clients and your dream prospects and weave that into how you talk about the messaging and actually how you design the offer. So it meets them at every stage and mitigates risk. It gives them quick wins. So people want to see evidence of progress. So you design your offer. That's one way to make an offer more profitable, is to put quick wins. So they see in the story, the journey that you're describing, once you buy this, here's what we're going to do. Here's a quick win that we'll go for. Here are the risks that we mitigate. Here's how we mitigate them. Here's how it's actually inbuilt into the design. You make sure that you're aiming your story and your offer at people who are ready to buy now. They have an inbuilt need. It's something that they want solved right now. So it's not a nice to have. It's not a preventing something in the future that, it'll never happen to me. You find the people and you speak directly to the people who want to solve this. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired, as my business mentor calls it. You want to find people and aim your offer at people who are like, yep, I'm ready. I just want help to solve this.
Thank you. And how do you find these high-ticket clients for your profitable offers?
Well, you can find clients by designing your story so that it's got a few elements. Here are some key elements that your story needs to have, and this will make finding clients much easier because you'll be able to get yourself out there at scale. First, your story needs to contain that promise of that transformation. So from A to B, from pain to pleasure. Then it needs to be dramatic. It needs to have high stakes. It needs to, there's a big difference in someone's story, say, being about a cup of tea going cold versus risking everything, including their mortgage. The stakes are much higher. So you want there to be big stakes behind your story. And you want to have something that is really tailored from your experience. You pull unique insights from your lived experience about how you contribute and how only you have lived these experiences. So here's where your approach is born from. If you get those three ingredients into a story, then it just makes everything else much, much easier.
Thank you. And where can you find these high-ticket clients?
Well, so once you have that story like that, I worked in an outbound lead generation agency where it was basically about emailing potential customers directly. That's fine, and it was a good training ground for me because it meant that I had to get really, really good because it's a very competitive attention marketplace. What I much prefer to do now is to help my clients to get their story and their assets, conversations, training, teaching on other people's audiences so that dream customers can actually find you. It's a dynamic I much prefer because say you are someone who helps people to find clients, like the example you just described. Well, say you do that through Facebook ads, say that's your specialism. Well, what do you think about someone who helps customers to do organic social posting is potentially going to be excited to show their audience? If you come to them with something really exciting that's been designed to make that person with the audience win bigger than you will, right? If it's a true win-win, if you've come with very sincere value to say, I would love to help your audience with something that I think could be really complementary with what you do. Do you think your audience would be interested if we ran a joint workshop, if we had a conversation and showed it to them, if I wrote them a free guide that's exclusive for your audience and we put that together and we offered them? Is that something that you think your audience would appreciate you letting them know about? And some of those will be yes and some of those will be no. But instead of it being one-to-one outreach, it's one-to-many. It's one to almost infinite potential of new dream customers. And it also helps to build relationships. If you really lead with that desire to serve, both the dream customers who are in that audience and also the people who own the audience, then this is something where you put yourself third. You put your customers first, and you put the person with the audience second, and then you say, and I know that I'm going to benefit from the good karma of being someone who's sincerely aiming to provide value. So that is my favorite mechanism to actually find dream customers with this system and get your story in front of them, get your offer in front of them.
Thank you. And how do you find these type of businesses that would be interested in collaborating with you in a joint venture like this?
Yes, so I love that question because it's something that you when I work with clients, you kind of see the cogs at the beginning. They're like, well, there isn't anyone, and then you actually start to go through a process. So you can, for example, right now you can Google your industry and add in a few keywords. So businesses who help, and then your industry, for example. Influencers who help your industry, and then you can think, well, okay, so if I help with Facebook ads, what comes before that and what comes after that? So it might be, email marketing. So a lot of people run Facebook ads and then they want help with email marketing. So you can look up email marketers in your industry and find an unlimited amount of people who have got audiences who are probably thinking, gosh, a lot of our audience are really keen to know about Facebook ads, but we don't do that. So we just give them some suggestions. Maybe they've got a few kind of half-hearted ways that they help their audience to understand. Maybe they just refer them to someone who is like just the obvious provider and say, oh, maybe you want to talk to so-and-so. Well, you turning up and, that feels kind of icky as a business owner to be like, hey, my audience is asking for things. I don't really have anything to offer them. You can be the answer to that problem. So you enter this conversation as the solution to that problem to say, do you think your audience would appreciate having the problem solved of how do I figure out the Facebook ads? I get the email marketing, but my Facebook ads aren't great. Can you solve that? And instead of that expert with the audience saying, no, I can't really solve that, they go, yes, we've got this person who's got all these free resources that they've just said, would your audience be interested? Or we've got we're doing a joint webinar where we're hosting a webinar so they can, or, they're coming into our course, our training program, which you're in. We're going to add modules and they're just going to make these modules for our course. How about that? And you as the expert who with the audience look and feel great because you're helping your audience solve more problems.
Okay, that sounds so fascinating. And give us another example of a case study of an entrepreneur or a business that you have helped and how you transformed their business with your messaging and creating profitable offers for them.
Yeah, so I worked with a digital B2B agency for a very long time. I still work, they're still a client right now, actually. And they were struggling because they were focused on the mechanism of what they did. They helped with LinkedIn outreach. They put together prospecting systems for their clients, but the language wasn't really translating. They didn't really have. It used to be they started at the beginning of this market, so it took very little effort. There was very little competition. People said, what do you do? And they said, well, we help you prospect on LinkedIn. And that was a new thing back when they started. So they didn't have to work very hard to get people's attention because it was inbuilt into the novelty of the mechanism itself. That's very much changed. I'm sure you know, LinkedIn has completely exploded. Everyone is talking about how to help get clients on LinkedIn. So what do? You have to come up with a more problem, story, and language rich way to talk about how you help people. And so what they do now is they focus on a specific type of founder with a specific type of problem. So that's the before state. And that problem, I don't want to give away my client's sequence, but let me think of something similar that isn't exactly the same, so I don't sell their messaging. They say they help specifically with founders who are struggling because they have a few whale clients that contribute all of the revenue for the company. And they are constantly worried every time the client seems a little bit of a bad mood. They are just stressed. They get no sleep because they're like, if we lose this client, we've lost everything, right? So that's a really detailed, very specific story that you start to be like, yeah, that's me. If you've got that problem, you'd listen to that and you'd say, that's me. You're talking about me. Thursday night, last Tuesday night, I can tell you in my calendar all of the nights in the past 3 months where I've had no sleep, where I had to wake up my spouse and say, this is the problem. And you've just used the words that I've described. And then you talk about what would be the outcome. Well, how would it feel if you woke up and had every day 3 to 5 new business opportunities in your LinkedIn inbox, all of them from people in your field, all of them from people who were saying, I'd be really interested in finding out more. That would, what difference would that make? So this is what I did for this client and helped them to evolve that message, evolve that story, and then get results for clients, and then use the client results as case study, one sentence case study stories, saying, we worked with this company who's a data engineer. They had never got a new client that wasn't an incidental word of mouth referral. They just didn't know how to open up any other channels whatsoever. We launched a new campaign with them, and within the first 6 weeks, they had landed their first client from completely cold traffic, complete stranger, and through our LinkedIn process, this is what they achieved. This is what it meant for them. So that is the simplest and most direct way to use simple stories. And probably my favorite way is to say, what's the coolest thing you've done for a client? Cool. Let's find out the simplest version of that that's full of the language that people actually use to describe those problems. And then let's build a whole offer around that with assets, with story-driven, free guides, webinars, email marketing, build a newsletter, all of these things. You can build it all from that core story, that core transformation.
Thank you. And one last question. What's your message to entrepreneurs worldwide?
Storytelling isn't this fluffy, nebulous thing that is like a 5-act story, square, triangle with all this complex stuff. You don't need to start there. All you need is a simple version of the most powerful thing that you can help clients with. You can find that and you can use that to not only have dream customers pay attention despite all of the noise in your market. You can also have people with audiences say, yeah, I would love to actually introduce you to not just one, but thousands, tens of thousands of people who I think you'd be, it will make me look good if I introduce you.
Wow. Thank you. That was a fascinating interview. And stay tuned for the next episode.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential business titans, providing you with the insights to awaken to your full potential so you can get paid to be yourself, find true happiness, and manifest anything you desire.